Europe wants to be part of the big technology race, but sometimes technology is way faster than regulations. How to keep innovations and how to keep those regulations faster and more supportive of the innovations in our block? Today we'll be talking with Dr. Sven Hübner from Koget, Germany. Hello. And how do you see the balance between innovation and regulation in Europe's digital policy?
First of all, we have to fulfill the regulation. This is the most important thing. Yeah? Regulation is first, and then we have to develop technologies which fulfill these requirements from the regulation. But I think we have, from identity management perspective, I think we have good technologies to fulfill them. But we need time to implement that and to integrate that in these systems. And this is the most important thing at the moment for me.
What lessons can Europe learn from more flexible markets like in the US?
This is a really good question. At the end, a lot of the vendors are from the US, which we use for our identity management systems. And this is really interesting because they look at us and say, why do you have such big problems? In the US, there is no problem because they have not the same regulation as we have it in Europe. So I think at the end, protection, or as I told in my speak, it's about resilience. Yeah, we don't talk about regulation. We need regulation for sure to fulfill the resilience because we don't want to have data breaches at the end. Yeah, so I'm not really sure that the flexible market is the only answer. Yeah, we need something in between. We need the regulation because it's necessary, and for sure we need a flexible market. Yes. And we learn from the market in the US, yes.
How critical is the NIS2 directive to Europe's long-term cybersecurity goals?
At the end, it's necessary. Yeah, we need that. And the problem is that everyone, especially in the smaller companies, I think the bigger companies or the financial market is not the problem because they have DORA. NIS2 is more for the smaller ones, or for sure critical, but in the first thing, not too critical, but at the end, utility is critical, yeah. And now they wake up and say, "Oh, we have problems," yeah. And the other thing is now the board is responsible for all of that, and then they start, okay, thinking about it. Okay, now we have to do something, and I think what we do here, identity and access management, is the most important thing to introduce NIS2 in the companies.
Is the concept of digital sovereignty realistic or more like a political slogan?
We get that question more often from vendors, from our customers. The reason is we have sometimes really strong customers which have a lot of companies beside, and what we see is they ask us, are there possibilities to do that with, for example, European vendors, for example, or with open source vendors. And we are asked more and more about that, yes, because they are afraid of cloud services from the US, yeah, because at the end, someone in the US can shut them down and then they have no possibility to work. So the interest of European implementations is really big at the moment. And we were asked from every our customer, what is possible with European vendors, what is possible with open source market here in Europe, yes.
I have personally asked myself a lot of times this question. How can small countries like Bulgaria contribute in the European digital security?
I think the open source market, for example, or smaller vendors have perfect products. Maybe they have not perfect partners, yeah? Because it's also expensive to have these partners, but the products are really, really good. And we have also in Germany, we use one of the open source products because we do that for universities, for example. And they are really interested in open source and on-prem situations for their identity and access management. So I think it's also possible for every country to use that techniques because they are available and not too expensive. Yes, for sure, if you go to the big players like SailPoint or One Identity.
What is the biggest current gap in identity and access management across Europe?
The biggest gap, I think, in one of the lectures today, we learned that the identity management for human identities is fine. But for non-human identities, so for bots, machines, for all that things, this is completely open, this field. And for me, I think this is More than, if you go to a company with 1,000 employees, you will have more than 10,000 non-human identities or more. So the problem is more on the non-human identity side than on the human identity side.
Are European companies prepared for the compliance challenges of DORA and IDAS 2.0?
I think DORA, yes, because they have to do it. Because for all the banks and insurance companies, they are pushed from the regulator, so they are ready. Yeah. In Germany, I can say that, yes. For Germany, I can say yes.
How can European regulations become more adaptive without sacrificing security?
This is a really hard question. At the end, we should... I'm completely convinced that the idea from all these regulators are correct. Yes, scarifying is a little bit... is okay, yeah, but at the end, it must be at the company itself to secure their information, to secure their people from problems. At the end, the identities are the problem. Not the identity itself, but if they are not secure, for example, then others can use these identities and can do bad things. So we have to protect our identities. This is the idea behind.
Are companies ready for the cost and complexity that will come with compliance under NIS2 and DORA?
No, they are not ready. For sure not. For DORA, I think they are more ready because they have a longer... So why DORA? I mentioned that before, because DORA is on the financial market and on the insurance market. They have a lot of regulation in the past, so they are more ready. NIS2 for a lot of companies is completely new. Yeah? They have to talk about, oh, what is an identity management system? Okay, we need that. Oh, what should we do? Yeah. So we learn at the moment that we have a lot of questions. How can we do that? We do a lot of assessments for the smaller companies with respect to NIS2.
Do you see the next step of Europe's digital policy being full interoperability between national ID systems?
Easy question, yes. They must be work together. Yeah. There must be a connection, a direct connection, because we have to learn from each other. And at the end, all the bigger companies have in all these European countries, they have locations where they work together.
Do you think all European countries will be working the same way like the others?
What I saw is that, for example, NIS2 is sometimes better in the Eastern Europe countries than in Germany, for example. Because in Germany it's not law at the moment, but in other Eastern European countries it's law. So I'm not sure that this is in some countries where you think it could be better, it's better. No. I think we have a similar situation in all the countries and have to develop that together.
How do you imagine the European cybersecurity landscape 5 years from now?
5 years is... In the past I thought 5 years is not much, but at the moment I think I don't know what is in 1 year, because the AI situation and how AI changes our life and change our work. This is what we should focus on, and this is also the focus on cybersecurity. How we can use AI for protection, this is one thing, but also AI is the fight against the security, because people maybe from Russia or from wherever use AI to go into our system. So we have a complete new situation with AI, and that's why I don't want to say what is in 5 years, because we have to understand the next 1 or 2 years how AI will change our life in cybersecurity.
And one last question. How do you see AI influencing the space, and what changes will it bring to the industry?
One thing is we have to treat an AI agent like an identity. An agent needs roles, rules, because it's a big problem if the AI has more information than an identity. This is really, really dangerous. So we have to treat them like an identity with all the same. So for example, if an AI needs more rights, then someone has to approve that, and that must be human, yeah, to approve that. So we have to learn how to integrate AI into our systems and to secure the AI and to secure us.